a little red dot thing fell on my page. And it was a little bug and I squished it and it had blood in it. Where did that come from? I'm now very worried. Hi people, welcome to another video. This video shall be my September wrap up plus my fall TBR because both of these are kind of short. So I'm gonna put them together. In September, I ended up reading a total of 10 books, which honestly is quite a lot of books. When you think about it, it's a lot of books, but it's shorter than I have been reading this year so far. I've been reading like in the teens of books most I was gonna say weeks, most months. And so it feels like a very short month for me, even though it really isn't. So the first book that I read this month, I was gonna say this year, I'm a little bit tired. The first book that I read this month was The Wanderer's Mark by Beth Brower. I ended up rating this one 5 stars. It was so good. This was the third book in the Books of Immoralia series, and so I read the first 2 last month in August. Yes, in August. I read the first 2 in August, and then I ended up reading the third one the first day of October because I was binging them right over the month change. It was so good. It was such a good conclusion. I can't even really give you a summary of this book because it is a third book in a series, and the series is so good that I don't want to give you any spoilers. The synopsis I can give you of the first book is that a queen is given a terrible decision to make for the fate of her people, and she's forced to make a very hard decision, and it follows her all this stuff. Let me just say, the consequences in this series are consequences. People die, bad things happen. It is so heartbreaking, and at the end of this book, they're happy for 30 seconds. 30 seconds, and then it's all over. There's no more happiness, and it was hard to read, but it was a beautiful series. And looking at it, I don't know if I would have given them a happier ending, because it would have undermined the moral of the story, and it was so good. I really, really loved that book. The next book that I read in September was Echoes of the Sea by Sarah M. Eden. This is the second book in the Tides of Time series. It is so good. I loved this book. I gave it 4.75 stars. I didn't give it 5 stars because it was so sad. So sad. And I know that it's going to get better and there's going to be interconnected stuff in this series because I asked her myself because I got to meet her. It was so cool. I actually got this book signed by her. It was kind of the coolest experience of my entire life. It was wonderful. It follows a guy who he's an actor and he's kind of down on his luck. He lost his job that he was doing and he always had a really hard time finding work. And so the only gig he can get is pretending to be a Regency era person in this kind of living history site. So he'd go to this island and live on this manor and pretend to be a person who has lived there many years in the past. And so he goes to this place and then he gets sucked back in time until that time in the past, but he doesn't know that he's back in time because he thought he was going to go work at a living history site. So it has the most funny rom-com. I don't think I've ever seen her do a more rom-com-y book than this book. It was so good. But then about halfway through, it gets really, really, really sad, and it is such a good book. I really highly recommend this series, but it emotionally destroyed me. Honestly, I also read it in too many sessions, I think. I think if I had read it all in one blow, I would have enjoyed it I would have enjoyed it much more than I did because I kind of paused it at points and I was already kind of feeling slumpy because this month I had quite a big slump. It didn't help my reading experience. So I think if I read it all in one blow, I might have rated it probably 5 stars because it was really good. I think if I reread it, I would have given it 5 stars, but I really enjoyed this book. I really recommend anything Sarah M. Eden has written. She's such a good author. Then I read I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy, and this is a nonfiction memoir, so I didn't rate it, but I just said it is so sad and I hope she gets better. The trigger warnings for this book are swearing, alcohol, drugs, abuse, eating disorder. If you haven't heard about this book, which if you hadn't, I'm proud of you because that means you're not online. It follows the girl from iCarly who played the best friend and her kind of story as she grew up with her mom, and it was so hard to read, but it was written very well. I very much enjoyed listening to this book because I think she was the narrator for it, wasn't she? The audiobook narrator. And it was very powerful to read, but it definitely was disturbing. I don't think I should read memoirs like this, even though I think they're very interesting. I don't think they're good for my psyche because I was already kind of being depressed and this didn't help, but it is an interesting book. I can't recommend this one in good faith for any age level because it was so dark. but it was a book that I have read and I'm glad I've read it at some point. I don't know. I didn't write this one down because I only made it like 30% of the way through, and I don't really mark books that I DNF because in my brain, if I've started reading a book, I'm very likely to come back and read it again later because that's just how my brain works. I like to finish things. But right after I finished this book, I decided to listen to Alison Stoner's memoir, which is Remarkably Well Adjusted Despite Literally Everything, which is basically the same book but her experience in like the acting and growing up as a child in this industry and the abuse. And I was okay with it for a bit because Alison Stoner also narrates her own audiobook, and I like Alison Stoner. I like her work. In something, I haven't seen everything she's ever been in, but in the things that I've seen her in, I've liked her work. So I was like, oh, it'd be interesting to see her perspective. And it was interesting for a bit, and then there was a scene that was basically exactly the same scene in I'm Glad My Mom Died. And so I was like, I don't think you're copying her because I do believe this is your life experience. But I did just read this, like, because I'd read it like the day before. I don't know why I decided to read these books back to back, but I'd read it like literally the day before this exact same scene in another person's memoir. So I was kind of like given this like weird and ick feeling, like this is the same thing. So then I looked up the reviews on Goodreads for Remarkably Well Adjusted Despite Literally Everything, and it brought up a lot of trigger warnings that I just didn't want to read about because I was already kind of feeling not very good. So I was like, I should just not read this right now. I might go back and read it at some point, maybe. Like I say, DNFs for me aren't really solid because most of the time I go back and read them because I just don't like having books that I've never finished. It makes me feel unfulfilled, unsatisfied. Like I have this open-ended question in my brain. Those are my reviews on those two books that are very, very similar. I don't recommend them, but I don't recommend them not if you're in the right headspace. They're hard because they're real life experiences, so I can't just be like, this was a bad book, it had trigger warnings, because it's not a bad book. Then I listened to The Magician of Tiger Castle by Louis Sachar, which I rated 5 stars. I think I was rating it 5 stars because it was exactly what I wanted in that moment, but I think looking back, I wouldn't rate it 5 stars because there was just some things that I was like, eh. So maybe it was like a 4.75 star, maybe. But it was a good book. I really enjoyed it. Basically, the premise of this one was the main character is the magician in the castle. So like in most places in like olden days, they'd have a magician that was kind of like the healer, the court physician. He was also like just supposed to fix things that were happening with magic. And this is taking place in kind of a magical realism kind of a world because there is a plot line that is really important, but you don't figure out why it's important until the very end. And it follows the magician, and he's trying to help the princess because the princess doesn't want to marry the person that she is engaged to. She wants to marry this other person. And so he helps the princess, and then it causes this whole chain of events that comes unfolded, and he's a very cowardly man. So his whole like thing in this book is, will I be strong and help this person, or will I fold and cower? And it was very interesting. I did enjoy it. Louis Sachar also wrote Holes, which I think is the only other book by him I've read. No, I've read a couple of the Wayside Stories, but I love his writing. It's very whimsical. So I do recommend that book. That is an adult book. That I say adult, I forgot to write down. Oh no, I did. I said it has one very weird scene. That is my trigger. It involves prostitutes and like a whorehouse, and it's kind of out of the blue. It's very odd. I think he literally only wrote that in because it was an adult book, and he's like, oh, I can put this in. It was weird. Then I reread The Wretched of Muirwood by Jeff Wheeler. This is the first book in the Wretched of Muirwood series. I forget what that one's called. Rereading this one, I rated it 5 stars again because I did really like this one. The writing is not as good as his latest book. The writing isn't as good as his later books. I just read the Queen's Poisoner series, the King Fountain series by him, and the ending kind of crosses over into another world that is this world. As I was reading that one, I was like, oh, this is amazing. It's so cool to be back in this world. So I was like, I want to reread this one now. The writing just isn't as good. I do think it's a fantastic story. I still really enjoy the story, but his writing did really improve over the years, which is a good thing to say. His writing did very much improve, but it was weird to read it and be like, oh, when I was a child, this was my favorite series. This was like my favorite thing. And now reading it with my adult brain, I was like, oh, I still love it, but it is not as wonderful as I remember it being, which is a very interesting thing to think about, that I've like gotten older and I can perceive stories through another lens in my brain. It's kind of weird. Anyway, the plot of the Wretched Demirwood series, I'll give you a summary because I reread the whole series. I don't even know what to say. I don't want to give away things because it's all kind of interwoven in my head. This has so many layers, I just realized. It has a very complex magic system. Rereading it, I realized just how complex the magic system is, and I'm surprised that I ever was able to understand the magic system because it is very key to understand the magic system. I think the only reason why I did understand it was because I was reading the books backwards, and in his later novels he explains the magic system a lot more in depth because I think those ones were supposed to be a little bit more palatable, digestible to a reader, and so I read the books backwards, and so this was the last series that I read, even though it's the first one in the timeline. At the time, there's now another one that is earlier in the timeline, which I didn't know. I could have just read that one and then reread down, so I'm reading all his books out of order again. Of course, I can't ever read them in order. Apparently that's my curse. It follows an orphan who is left to, they're kind of like abbeys. I think they're called abbeys in the book. And so it's like a place where the government can't interrupt. It is just for the people who come to worship, and they come to learn to be, they call them scribes, but they come to learn to be mastons, which are the magic wielders, I guess. But they're the good magic wielders because there's also the bad magic wielders. So the bad magic wielders have like this, they called them Keistrels. I'm going way too in depth. You don't need to know this part. Anyway, she's an orphan left in this abbey system, and so the Aldermaston, who is like the principal of this whole thing, you don't even need to know that either. She works in Aldermaston's kitchen as a scullery maid, kind of, and so she helps with the fire and cooking and stuff like that. This is so complex. Why did I realize this has never come? Anyway, so one day there's a banging on the door outside, and so she's not really supposed to open the door, because it is not her job to open the door. She's supposed to keep it closed and to keep them safe, obviously, like inside the kitchen. But this one day she decides, why not? I should open it up. So she opens up the door, and this guy comes in dragging another guy who looks half dead. And he's like, hey, I can't stay, but there's this person who's dying. Can you take care of them? And she's like, sure. So then it follows her taking care of this person, the consequences of that. Why did I go so in depth for such a boring summary? Anyway, so the second book follows all that stuff that happens, and I rated that one 4.5 stars because the rating just kind of kept getting more and more clunky, which is weird because I remember really liking this book, but it felt like a fetch quest, and then they just immediately went back. I was like, what is the point of anything we just did? Like, I understood logically why they did it, but it felt so unnecessary in the plot. Then the third book, I ended up rating that one 4.75 stars too, because the dialogue at the very end, it was okay up until the very end when it just kind of concludes really quickly, and I was like, okay, that's over now, I guess. It's still a good series. I really recommend it for YA, and I think even if you're older, like my age, you'd still enjoy it, but don't go in thinking it's the best writing in the world, because I did, and it wasn't as good. I think if I reread it knowing that, it would have been alright. I'll go into the next series knowing they might not be quite as good, the ones that I'm going to reread. But the next one that I'm going to reread, I think I might reread this month, maybe? We'll see. I really liked that one as a child. That one was my favorite series besides the Harbinger series, so we'll see. Then I reread Chomp by Carl Hyacin, I think is how you say it, and then 5 stars. Still a fantastic book. It still holds up. I remember there being a weird thing in that book, but there really wasn't. I don't know what I thought was weird, but it was a good book. I enjoyed it. That one follows a kid whose dad is an animal wrangler for movies and stuff, so he owns his own like personal animal sanctuary, and then his animals can be in like commercials, and he knows how to like help them handle the animals and all this stuff. His dad got hit on the head with a frozen iguana that was in a tree because there was a cold snap, and the iguanas got left out in Florida, and then they propagated. They were everywhere, and there was a cold snap, and so the iguanas were frozen in the trees, and then the one hit his dad on the head, so he had this horrible concussion for like a really long time. And so his dad is like struggling with work because he can't really do work because you can't really handle animals when you have a concussion and you can't see and you have double vision. And so his mom's like, all right, I gotta go do this thing. I gotta go travel for work because we need money, and so you guys stay safe. So his mom's off in China, and they get this call that's like, hey, do you want to do a job? And so the kid's like, we need money. Yes, we're gonna do this job. His dad's like, why did you accept this? And so it follows them doing this very wacky, weird job, and it is so funny. It is such a good book. I was listening to it, I think, while I was doing like work and chopping vegetables and stuff, and I was like, this holds up. This is still so good. I want to reread some more of his other books because I think as a kid, Chomp was our favorite one, but we also listened to some other ones. So I love that book. It's good. Then I listened to Kiss of the Spindle by Nancy Campbell Allen, and I ended up rating this one 3.75 stars because why was the first book so good? It's like an interconnected romance standalone series, so you can read them out of order and it'll be fine, you'll understand, but it's more fun when you read them in order. So I read the first one, which is Beauty and the Clockwork Beast, and that one was hilarious. I loved it. It was funny. It was actually kind of ghouly. It was wonderful. It was so good. Great book. It was like, I think I rated it 4.5 stars because it wasn't like the best ever, but I was like, surely the next ones in the series are gonna be good because I enjoyed this one so much. This book, there was this weird element in there where the main character, oh, what was even the plot? Like, I kind of blocked it out because it felt like 4 books smashed together, because there was the plot when they're on the airship kind of falling in love, and then there's the plot when they get to the place and they're searching for the thing to break this curse. So she's cursed to sleep like the dead at night, but if she doesn't break the curse in this certain amount of time, then she will just be like that forever. So it's like Sleeping Beauty. This girl who's very competent and she knows how to do everything and she's very good at doing things is forced to rely on other people and to let other people help her. That's kind of like the plot arc of her. And then there's the guy who doesn't really like people, but he's forced to like her. But it is so bizarre because there's this like whole kink element to it that is not explored. It's just in there for a random reason. And I thought that it was so bizarre because he likes the fact that she is so good at using knives and he thinks that is so attractive and he's like so enamored by this, and it is brought up like 3 times but it's not explored because it's a Christian book. And so I'm like, why did you even include it then? It was such a bizarre thing. And then there was also this weird pacing element where I was like, okay, I know who the bad guy is, I know what's going on, like once you figure out some things in the book, and then it just drags out. And then there's the whole like, they didn't admit that they loved each other part, but I'm like, you've kissed each other 5 times. You've kissed each other 5 times, does that not mean that you like each other? I don't understand. It was bizarre. But I'm hoping the next book is good. I still think I'm gonna read the next book because they're like ghouly vampire werewolf books, and so they're very good for October. So I might read the next book this month. It's so weird. I really like the first one, so like I like have rose-colored glasses looking back at it because I'm like, oh yeah, I was in the same world, but then I'm like, wait, no, this one was not very. It was weird. The last book that I read this month was Winterling by Sarah Prinius. The backstory on this book, I had a notebook that I kept when I was younger. I would write down in the back of, or the front of it, just like book recommendations I'd received or books I wanted to read or I'd looked up that were like clean fantasy or something. And so I had this whole list of books that I wanted to read. But because I didn't have Goodreads and I never really brought my notebook with me anytime I went to the library, I didn't like read those books on that list. So looking back at it, I thought it was so funny because I had read some of the books on the list accidentally. I didn't mean to. And some of them were some of my favorite books that I've read. So I was like, oh, I should read the rest of them. So this was one of the books that was on that list. I think it might not have been this book specifically, but it was Sarah Prinius was on the list. So I ended up rating this one 3 stars because it was boring. It was middle grade. I am not middle grade anymore. I can still read YA and enjoy it, but middle grade is a little too young for me now. And it followed this girl who figures out that her parents, they went to this magical world and then she has to go save the magical world from this curse from the interloper. And it was just boring. It wasn't bad. I think I would have enjoyed it when I was younger, which is why I'm kind of annoyed that I didn't read it when I was younger, because I think I would have thought it was charming at least, if not a good book. It was fine. All in all, in September, I ended up having 6 new books that I read and 4 rereads. And of the 5 stars that I gave this month, 2 were new books and 2 were rereads. Now we get to my fall TBR. So my page on here is not all the way colored because I have been in a slump, and that includes making my, book journal apparently. On there are right here. So I'll go through and talk to you about these really quick. I'll go through the library list, the ones that are like my October TBR, because I didn't have them on my fall one. So the first one is Mercury Rain Ghost Broker by Sarah M. Eden. This one's so short because they're going to be short stories that come out really close to each other. So I think the next book comes out or has come out this week, which I should probably order that one actually because I want to read it. But I wanted to read this one this month, maybe closer to Halloween. But knowing that the second book comes out really soon, I might just read this now and then read the next book like on Halloween when it comes out. Sarah M. Eden's one of my favorite authors, but this one follows, I don't really like reading summaries, but I know it has to do with a girl who can see ghosts, and she basically uses that to her advantage and sells her ability to see ghosts as like her trade. So I thought that was interesting and I'm excited to read that. I don't know, is it written? Okay, it is not written like a journal. One of my favorite series that I've discovered this year is the M Lion series, and that one's written as a journal. It's so good. So I was hoping she was doing something similar, but she's not. That's all right. And then the next books that I got from the library that I wanted to read are Split Second and Pivot Point. I don't know why, they just felt like I wanted to read these around Halloween time, which is actually this week. I'm really recording this so very late in the year. Don't sue me. I read these by Casey West a long time ago, but they're always never available on Libby, so I can't really listen to them. So I think if I want to reread them, I should reread them this way. This is like tentative. If I don't read it, it's totally fine. And then the other book when I was at the library that I saw that looked interesting is The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walther. I don't even know if this is clean. I don't even know if this is clean. I think I've heard something about this before, and I just wanted to read a YA rom-com that I haven't read before. And I'm hoping it is cute and I'm liking the romance. I know it's not summer anymore, but it's okay. Most of the time I don't read summer books in summer because I like the nostalgia of, oh yeah, I remember summer, it's so fun. Because when I'm in summer, I hate summer. I like thinking about summer as a nostalgic thing, but I hate summer, it's too hot. And then this book is the third book in the Emily Wilde series. I've been listening to the other two, so I picked up this one to listen to finish because my Spotify hours ran out, and so I wanted to finish it before, you know, next month when my Spotify hours renew. I am enjoying this book so far. We'll see how I feel at the ending, because I feel like it's setting up for either one of two things, and I'm hoping it's the second one, not the first one. So we'll see. All right, so that's like my October books that I want to read. Hopefully I end up giving to at least one of these. I'm not trying to stress myself out because, my goodness, my brain has been so mean to me lately. I'm hoping if I'm kind to it this month and I don't tell myself I need to read 75 books and I just tell myself I can read like 4 books this month and it's fine, that I will feel better and I'll be able to read a bunch in like November, December, because that's normally like my Christmassy reading time, and I want to read so many Christmas books. So I'm hoping I can read at least 2 more books this month and kind of like let my brain feel better. I am feeling a little bit better. I've been in such a slump. Okay, so then this is what I put down for my fall TBR. And can you see I picked them just because of their spines and they give like autumnal? That's the whole point. Because if I don't end up reading them, I just want to have like an array of, these are cute fall books you could read. Have fun, you know, to maybe entice me into reading. We'll see if it works. So the first book is Better Off Friends by Elizabeth Eulberg, and I actually read another book by her like 2 months ago called Prom and Prejudice, and I hated it. So I'm hoping I like this one because she is like a highly acclaimed writer. She has written books that people really enjoy. So I'm hoping I just read a one-off that was not very good, and I'm hoping I like this one because I also like the idea of this book. I have not read the book back very much, but it's just this guy and this girl were friends, and now they're thinking maybe we shouldn't be friends because we like each other. I'm hoping it's that sort of a thing, like friends to lovers. This is the book I want to read next, physically, hopefully, so we'll see. Then I have The Happiness Project, or Why I Spent a Year Trying to Sing in the Morning, Clean My Closets, Fight, Write, Read Aristotle, and Generally Have More Fun by Gretchen Rubin. This would actually probably be good to read right now because I'm a little stressed out. I think the whole point of this book is just teaching you how to be happier, and I think I started reading a little bit of it and I liked the writing style. I don't like nonfiction very much. I like it when it's written more like a novel and it teaches me things, but I hate reading, if you do this you will be happier, and if you do this studies have shown that this does. So boring to me, don't like it. So I'm hoping that I enjoy this book. If not, it is a cute spy. The next book is The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain. I have not read this book before, and I also have not read Huckleberry Finn. I say I've not read Huckleberry Finn because I accidentally read one of those stupid annotated versions of Huckleberry Finn that are like big fat books with big fat words. I didn't realize I was reading a fake book. So I'm hoping I can reread Huckleberry Finn after reading Tom Sawyer. I literally only put this one on here because it has an orange spine. I think this is very much a summary book. Oh, it has a larger print. How lovely. I know that this is a classic, and I've always thought of it as like a very boy book. So I'm hoping I like it. We have The Secret of the India Orchid. I kept reading this as orchard or ocean, not orchid, and so it completely weirded me out when I was looking it up on Goodreads and it was orchid, not ocean. Don't know why. I literally just got this one as an audiobook because apparently audiobooks are easier for me right now because I'm also working on my Christmas presents, so I need to like use my hands, and it's harder to read when you need to use your hands for something else. So I'm hoping I can read at least a couple of these from audiobook, so we'll see if that ends up working out. Maybe The Adventures of Tom Sawyer would be a good audiobook, actually. This one, I think, is a romance. I actually do not want to read the summary of this because I don't like reading summaries on romances because I already kind of know the plot. If there's a dual perspective, those two are falling in love. And if it's not a dual perspective, it's like the first man you meet. So I don't want to learn the plot because then I will know the whole thing of the book. This is the same author who wrote the book I was saying I didn't really enjoy. So we'll see. I don't know if I like her books. I've read 2 of her books I really liked, and I read 1 that I haven't. No, 2 that I really liked and 1 that I haven't. So hopefully I like this one, so then it's just a one-off that I didn't enjoy. Then I have Netherwood by Jane Sanderson. I was gonna say Anderson because it's never Sanderson, but it's Jane Sanderson. My last name is Sanderson. This one I literally just picked up because it had my last name at DI. I don't know anything about this. So it's a romance between a really rich person and an employee. What? Oh, her husband dies. Okay. I was like, she's already married? Oh no, what book did I get? It's okay. Oh, wow. That's really, really big text. That kind of surprised me. The typesetting in this book is bizarre. Normally it's double spaced. This is like single spaced. Look at that. That's crazy. Hopefully this is good. I think this might be, oh no, it's traditionally published. I thought it might have been published by yourself. This might not be a very good book. If not, I have an alphabet reading list in my book journal, and I think some of the only title letters I need are N. Let's see, because I want to read them by the end of the year because I have a good majority of it read. We need J, N, Q, V, X, Y, Z. I should find books that start with that and read that this year. I'm not including anything with a the, just because that makes it less fun. I guess I need to find books with that. If anyone knows a book that starts with one of those letters, J, N, Q, V, X, Y, and Z, that'd be lovely. I didn't realize I needed those. I should look at my physical TBR too. Okay, and then the last book on my TBR is The Unwedding by Ali Condi. This one is because it's a thriller, and also the spine literally gives Halloween because it has like the orange and the green. So I'm hoping I enjoy this. Ali Condi is so interesting to me because she is not one of my favorite authors because I love a series by her with my whole soul, and then some of her books I'm just like, yes, this is a good book, and some of her books I just don't really like. She's all over the board for me, but I'm still collecting all of her books because she is one of my favorite authors. So I'm hoping I enjoy this one. If not, it is okay. I won't be heartbroken if I don't enjoy this book because I'm not really expecting I'll enjoy it, but I do want to read it this month. If I don't end up getting to it this month, honestly, it doesn't matter. I need to just keep telling myself it doesn't matter. It's like a mantra towards reading because I get so like worked up in my brain about, oh, I need to read this many books. Oh, I only read 2 books so far this month. I need to read more. Like, it doesn't matter, girly pop. Just read what you want to read. You'll feel better. You'll want to read more books when you feel better. I realized the other day that this shirt, oh, you can't even really see. It's not focusing very well. This shirt is literally just Arthur from Arthur. What is it called? Arthur and Friends? Because he has like a yellow sweater with a v-neck with a white shirt. I don't have the white shirt, but it literally, I was like, why does this seem so familiar to me? And then I'm also wearing like blue jeans, like the same color he does. And I was like, I'm Arthur. Can't say I hate it. He does have great style. My siblings are talking. You probably can't even hear it, but I can. Anyway, those are all the books that I read this month and the books that I want to read in the upcoming months. We will do, hopefully, another one on time for October. I got depressed, okay? Anyway, thank you for coming. I love you all. See you whenever I decide to upload another video, okay? I don't even know at this point. Goodbye. My makeup, let me just tell you, it was a hassle. I didn't want to stay on my face.